Hello. Good day to you guys. I'm teacher Maria. So for today, we're going to study about environmental protection. Okay. We will continue our lesson, but first we have to review this chapter. We are studying about living things and the environment. Okay, so we already studied about lesson A, animal and plant adaptations. We studied about the special structures and characteristics of plants and animals that help them to survive in their habitat. We also studied about lesson B, interdependence between living things. We studied about producers, consumers, and decomposers. We studied about food chain and food web, and we also studied about living things, how living things depend on other living things besides food, as their shelter, as their protection, as a help in dispersing seeds and fruits, in helping to pollinate the flowers. They interact. Living things depend on each other for them to survive. And we also studied about interactions among living and non-living components. We studied about how water, sunlight, air, temperature, and soil interact with the living things. I hope all of these topics are clear to you already, so we can move on to our new lesson. Okay, our new lesson is about environmental protection, but before we move on to that, I want you to be familiar with some vocabulary words that we're going to encounter in this topic. Okay, so you can read with me. Okay, the first one is environment. You can read the tie here and try to remember these words, okay? Environment, protection, depend on, survive, changes, forest, threatened, deforestation, national parks, reserved forest, poaching, endangered animals, hatcheries, wildlife sanctuaries, waste materials, and water bodies. I hope that you will be familiar with all of these vocabularies by the end of the lesson. And then you can also review this. I will send you a copy of these vocabulary words in the line group. Okay, so let's move on to our topic for today. We're studying about environmental protection. So first, we have to be clear about the word environment, okay? We already studied about it, but as a review, environment is everything, anything surrounding a living thing that affect how it lives. I already explained to you that even if it's living or non-living, as long as it has an effect or affect your life, it's part of your environment. And then when we see the word protection, it's about taking care, conserving. So this time we're going to study about how we're going to take care of our environment. Okay, so let's move on. The first thing that we need to understand in this topic is that all living things depend on the environment to survive. We said that environment is everything. So it's the air, the water, the land, the plants, the animals. All of us, all living things need the environment for us to survive, for us to be able to stay here on the earth and live and not die. We need the environment, okay? So we need to take care of it. We need to protect our environment. Okay, so let's move on. Another thing is that any changes to the environment will affect the lives of living things living on it. We already studied about this in the interdependence and interactions between living and non-living things. Any changes that you do, especially in the food chain and in the food web, any changes, it will affect the lives of the living things, including us. It will affect us. So, and in this topic, forest, we have to learn about the forest because forests are homes to many living things, plants and animals. So forests are important. Unfortunately, humans, we do activities like deforestation to threaten the survival of many living things. We have to be familiar with the word deforestation, okay? Deforestation is the clearing of the forest or cutting down of the trees in the forest to build houses or factories and to grow crops. Because humans, they cut the trees, see? They cut the trees to build factories and houses and villages, and they also grow crops that they can sell at a higher value. So, but in return, what happens is animals and plants will lose their habitat, okay? So if we continue to do deforestation, it will have a big effect to our life and to the environment. Let's think. What will happen to the living things when their habitat is destroyed? If your habitat or your home is destroyed, you won't have any place to go. So if we cut the trees in the forest, animals will have no shelter, no protection, and they won't have their food, so they cannot survive. Another thing that we have to think about is that what would happen to the level of the oxygen in the air? Because if we're going to remember, when trees provide the oxygen that we breathe in, they create oxygen when they do photosynthesis. We already studied this, but I just want to review to you guys. So if we cut the trees, oxygen level will decrease. We won't have enough oxygen for all the living things on Earth, and there will be other consequences. Carbon dioxide will be a lot too much, and it will create global warming or greenhouse effect. So deforestation, cutting down of trees, it's very, very not good to the environment, okay? So what can we do? That's the question. What can we do to protect our environment? Number one is we should protect the forest, okay? We should set up national parks or reserve forests to protect the natural habitats of many animals. The government could protect national parks. They can put up forest reserves or those forests that people are not allowed to go into. And another thing is that we can plant more trees. In our backyard, in our homes, we can plant more trees. Okay? Another thing that we can do is we should protect animals from poaching, okay? Poaching is a vocabulary that you need to understand. Poaching is the killing of animals for their parts to sell. Like when they kill elephants just to sell their tusk or their horns. So that's poaching. We should protect animals. So how are we going to protect them? We can set up hatcheries and wildlife sanctuaries for endangered animals, okay? Some of you might not know the word endangered. Endangered animals are those animals that are less already. There are not a lot of them on Earth. Examples of endangered animals are rhinoceros, those tigers, Malayan tigers. So we have to protect animals from poaching, okay? Another one that we can do is that we should keep our environment clean. It's very important. So waste materials should not be dumped on the ground or thrown into the water bodies. Because of human activities, waste materials becomes a lot. So sometimes they throw it to the water bodies, like they dump their waste to the rivers. So it will pollute the water in return, and then it will affect the living things that live on water. Another thing is that we can practice 3 R's. We can practice reduce, reuse, and recycle to reduce the waste materials and to reduce the need for raw materials. So this topic, 3 R's we're going to explain in detail next meeting. Okay? Okay, please watch the other video that I will send to you in your line group. If you have your workbooks with you, answer your textbook, page 25, and your workbook, page 14. Okay, 2 pages. I will send a copy of these pages. If you do not have your books with you, you can print the worksheet or you can copy in your notebook and answer them. Okay? I hope you understand the lesson. See you next time. Stay home and stay safe. Bye!